Oh, hey, you want to talk about ethics? What am I doing? I'm going to the slopes. I like to ski. Well, yeah, I know they use poop water. Not a big deal because I like to ski. Is it unethical? It might be, and that leads right into my philosophy argument about why environmental ethics don't matter. An argument for destroying the earth. Really not the way I intended this to go when I started out, but then I came to a lot of realizations. And skiing on the mountain is an excellent example of what people want to do is going to override their ethics on what is right and what is wrong. And that is especially true when it comes to the environment. And there's a few things that we'll talk about. First, we'll reach into the text that we've become so comfortable with this semester. And we'll talk a little bit about Taylor because he's the one that the first readings we had on environmental ethics. And although he was had some great ideas, he also talked about the opposing point of view, which was we may have responsibilities with regard to the natural ecosystems and biotic communities of our planet, but these responsibilities are in every case based on the contingent fact that our treatment of those ecosystems and communities of life can further realization of human values and or human rights. It's my right to go skiing. Why should the earth get in my way? There's other things. For example, sometimes when we think what we are doing is ethical towards the environment, it's the exact opposite. At the turn of the century, not this century, the last century, we thought that if we fought every fire, that was the right thing to do. And there may have been a myriad of reasons for this. People were starting to move out west. They didn't want to burn up their villages. They perhaps wanted to harvest the timber instead of burning it down. However, in the process of doing what we thought was right and ethical, we created these overcrowded forests that now burn with some good intensity. And in the case of Mount Eldon over there, it pretty much took a nice ponderosa forest and sterilized it, and now we have shrubs. Same thing when we think we're controlling species and we kill one species to further another species. Later on, perhaps that species. So, for example, we kill all predators because we're trying to preserve our cattle, and we'll make up reasons like preserving the deer population, preserving the elk population, and in the end, we cause greater sickness in those populations. So we think we're being ethical, but it doesn't work out that way. The creation of parks. I love this book. Edward Abbey, Desert Solitude. It's about his season as a park ranger in Utah, and he talks about why people would want to destroy wilderness and get people to live in cities. And there's 8 reasons he gives. If you want to read them all, it's on page 164, 165. But the 8th reason is raise the wilderness, dam the rivers, flood the canyons, drain the swamps, log the forests, strip mine the hills, bulldoze the mountains, irrigate the deserts, and improve the national parks into national parking lots. So, ethically, starting with John Muir and Teddy Roosevelt, we wanted to preserve these great swaths of land so that future generations could enjoy their beauty. Well, in the process, we also, ethically, thought that everybody should have access to these lands. And we made them so accessible that we've all but ruined the wilderness side of these areas because now everybody can get in there. They're overcrowded. There's shuttle buses. There's all these things. Profit. I mean, let's talk about using public land, private land, whatever it is, for profit and ruining the environment. The Koch brothers, who are billionaire oil developing people who have super PACs, and take that to trickle down economics because they've created thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs for fracking in this country. And so now if you're against fracking, you're against somebody's right to work or somebody's job. Where I remember in my lifetime, it seems like we went from cheap gas to $4 a gallon gas. And when gas got to $4 a gallon, we really embraced coming up with different technologies and green energy and things that would be good for the environment. Well, perhaps that got scary for some people, and so the supply of oil went up again and it got a little bit cheaper. And that drives us back to not thinking as much about how we're using these resources. Another one I like to use is sushi guilt. We feel like we're doing good by eating sushi, yet we're depleting the oceans of fish and other things. So while personally I feel like I'm an environmentalist and I like to do what's right, I also feel like at times, ethically, going to ski on pea water isn't the right thing to do. But man, I like to ski, and as long as there's people that live in that mindset where what I want to do is more important than everything else, then ethics is kind of useless. And as long as there's greed and money to be made and things like that, then it's always going to win over environmental ethics, which is a sad, sad thing. And unless we could all somehow embrace Taoism, return ourselves to Mother Nature, and let nature take care of us, I don't think, sadly, there will be environmental ethics. So, anyway, I'll catch you all on the slopes.